Flosstube. It's Arlene here. It is Sunday, July 6, 2025. If I'm able to get this up tonight and it's still a weekend, I hope you're having a good weekend or whenever it is that you're watching this. Let me start out by saying thank you for being here. I'm fully aware there's lots of Flosstube to watch, and I always appreciate when people have come and want to spend a little time with me. If you are new here, welcome. If you are a returning person, welcome. However it is that you found me, I'm here to chat with you for a little bit. I have my list. I have the order I think I'm going to go in, but I'm also feeling a little scattered today, so we'll see how it goes. Let me start out here. My last Flosstube a few weeks ago, I shared with you that I was going to StitchCon this year. If you are unaware, StitchCon is a fairly large retreat that happens in Cincinnati. It actually is so large that they actually do 2 weekends of it, so about 300 people each weekend. Part of the OG, I went to the very first StitchCon, which was in 2018, and at that year it was at like a hotel with a ballroom kind of space, and I think it was like 150 people. And then the second year, which I also went to in 2019, is when they moved over to the convention center, and that's where it takes place, and it's been there ever since. 2019 was the last time I went, so it all came together going with some friends this year, and I could picture what it was 6 years ago. And yes, one of my friends said to me, so, as we're driving away the last day, was it what you remember from 2019? What's different? And really, there was a lot of pieces that I remembered. The layout, the general sense of it. Sure, it's gotten more polished. There's a lot of spaces set up for social media things, for example. The fundraiser is a bigger part. Just some other things. But the general idea of a retreat, a group of people who love what you love getting together in a giant room, it doesn't get much better than that. Just the walking around and seeing what people are stitching on. The random conversations you have. At many retreats, there is what's called a brag table where people just bring things to share. Many of them finished, like like framed or finished, whatever. And some of them not FFO'd, but just, the finished stitching. And then there's also typical to have a freebie table. And I love searching for treasures at the freebie table. And in both of those places, when you're just walking around, or you're standing or looking, you inevitably have a little conversation with the person next to you or whatever. And that's a important piece of our stitching world. I'm not someone that's big into crowds, and I was mildly worried, and I shouldn't have been. It was perfectly fine. I was with some friends. I went in that mindset. I do know there's people that go to this or any retreat by themselves, and usually end up having a great time. So let me just share. So 2018, the first year of StitchCon, I'd actually had my first retreat before StitchCon. Long story short, that year, this is still the StitchCon logo. Like, you see it places, you can purchase shirts or other swag, or hoodies and stuff like that. They gave us the pattern to it. I dug this out. In my cabinet, I have all the stitching retreats that I've gone to that have a bag of some kind, and most of them have been emptied out of a lot of the stuff. But anything that was specifically for that retreat that I probably wouldn't, not like a pattern I picked up on the freebie table or anything like that. Anyway, those things stay in the bag. So I knew exactly where I'd find what I was thinking about this morning, which was, like I said, they gave us this pattern, and I actually stitched it up. And the story behind this, that first 2018, I was with some friends. We went to a thrift store just for fun, just to get out and do something. And the details are really hazy, but somebody found, I don't know if it was a skirt or something, that she said, look, it's linen you can stitch on. We could see, which I guess you can do. I don't know too many, if any, like linen clothes. I'd have to look a little bit more closely. But anyway, she was pointing it out. And so she bought it. It was like $2 or something and cut it up, and everyone got a piece of it. Now, I think I'm the only one that ever stitched on it, but I'm pretty sure I started stitching this. So this is, like I said, a piece of a green linen skirt or shirt or something. And I know I started stitching this at StitchCon. It's tiny. I remember counting it out, and I mean, you could just see it's small count, as it should be if it's an article of clothing. Anyway, I just bring this out because I'm the original StitchCon. I have, like I said, they do shirts and stuff. The first year there was no date on it. It just said it was this logo. And I'm pretty sure every year after that there's been the date. So I have one of the originals. Anyway, let me share a little bit about this year. I was with some friends. We ended up renting an Airbnb, and it was about 10 minutes away. So, yeah, a little drive, but it worked out really great for us. We had the space to spread out. We had different bedrooms, a kitchen to kind of have food for breakfast and stuff like that. And I'm really glad it kind of did it that way. I mean, there's something great about staying in a hotel that's right nearby and you can, take a nap in the afternoon, but this worked out really well. Another thing that's changed over the years is the kinds of things that you get at a retreat have evolved. And I speak for myself. I also run a retreat. I'll talk about that in a minute. I was shown the bag that the StitchCon bag that they got last year, which was really good, a bag that I could see myself using. The bags we got this year, like a backpack and a cooler kind of thing. It's not the kind, and StitchCon logo. It's not the kind of thing that I think I will, well, I guess if I have a need for a cooler bag, here we go, I've got one. We'll see. I have seen some posts of people using it. Actually, one of my friends, my friend, Abby and Vanessa, sisters, they were driving about a 2 or 3 hour drive back at the end of StitchCon, and there was a text like, they took some of the leftovers that were in the refrigerator and they used this bag. And I think all they did was put like a frozen bottle of water, and they're like, wow, it stayed really cool for this drive. So it works. There's not too much in here. I just wanted to share a few things. I will say this might be the most useful, I shouldn't say the most, one of the very most useful things I have or can imagine receiving as a retreat thing in your bag, although they were kind of separate. You took it. So it says StitchCon. It's a phone holder, but it's a pretty, all right, I got a shiny thing going on here with the lights. I mean, it's a metal one. It's pretty sturdy, StitchCon. It's the kind that if you put your phone here, you can still be able to plug it in to charge. I had this open in front of, I've never had one of these things. I guess I've never thought to bring it with me at a retreat. Just most people kind of keep their phone nearby. I was glad to have this right in front of me. So this is something I will definitely use, and I very much appreciate getting. The other main thing that we got from an official StitchCon perspective was a wooden needle holder, and a nice, very nice quality. I don't know how much I have some others of these. I don't know how much I'll use it, but who knows? You never know. The other things in this bag, just to give you and of course, your StitchCon name tag. A lot of the things in here, and I'm not going to go through every single one of them. Another thing that was definitely different that I know has evolved over the years, just I know from friends who have gone in the intervening years since I've been, is that much more people going around and giving out little gifts. And I'm not stupid. Of course, we love to share and meet new people and admire what they're doing. There's also a sense of, it gives an excuse to go around and say hi to people and have some nice conversations. So I had so many wonderful things, and I'm not going to be able to go through all of them. I just wanted to say just a couple things that I thought were very cool. These are 3D printed, can do cross stitch. And the woman, and I feel so bad. I don't think I have any names associated with any of these things. So if you are watching and you gave one of these things, thank you. I had this vision I was going to be so good at keeping track and like writing a list of names. Yeah, that didn't happen. The woman who made these, had a number of her pieces cross-stitched on the brag table. So I thought it was a very cool idea. Um, uh, and let me just say, because I just had this thought, if you were I mean, I guess I could post this on the Facebook group. If you were the one who stitched this or know the name of the person, could you comment below? Because I did want to get in touch with her, and it's just one of those things that I didn't think of in the moment. Assorted floss drops and sticks and measurements and all, just all kinds of cool stuff. A number of stickers. The StitchCon people had like official like StitchCon stickers. But then there were also, here's another official StitchCon sticker. But like other people came around giving out stickers like, it's not hoarding if it's cross stitch. This is from Jen, Delicious Threads, one of my friends at the table. And a bunch of other things. I want to say this. I appreciate so much the kindness. Because think about it. Anything that anyone was coming around and offering, they were offering 300 of those things. And so if nothing else, there's some financial pieces involved with that, which is very appreciated. And just the kindness. And we all need as much kindness as we can find in this world. Another concrete thing I wanted to share. I loved this idea. And of course, this is from Southern Yankee Stitcher. She made up note cards, and just blank note cards. I always like to keep on hand blank note cards. I do write cards every now and then. And she had this picture she said it's her mom, and either her mom and friends, her mom and sisters, and what do we think? 1940s, early 50s? And she wrote, "Your vibe attracts your tribe." And one of the reasons this sticks out to me, when she was telling the story of the picture, I can think of some old pictures I have of my great aunt, who's someone I knew, plus some of her siblings who I didn't know, like they'd passed before I was born, like from the 20s. And I was thinking that would be really cool to do something like this with pictures of, you go into a Hallmark or CVS or somewhere where you're buying cards, and sometimes you see pictures of random people and you buy that card because it's not about the person. Maybe it's about the thing that it says on it, or just the feeling that the picture gets. Anyway, I appreciated Southern Yankee Stitcher for the idea, and I may be stealing/borrowing that. Was there anything else in specific that I wanted to share from this bag? Couple of things from the freebie table that I just wanted to actually, let me point out one thing right now, and I'll save the other one for a minute. So if you didn't know, so especially if you're new, I'm a designer. I design under the name Works by ABC. When I'm floating around at the freebie table, I'm not looking for patterns to stitch. I love looking for the old magazines, and I'll let me pause on that. I love looking for the old magazines, and then you just never know what you're going to find. At a cross-stitch retreat, obviously, the majority of stuff on that table is cross-stitch. But when I found a couple of hard-anger things, I was like, I mean, yes, there's an element I need to rescue this because who knows who else in this room is interested. There probably is. There's enough people in there. There's enough interest. But I do love holding on to stuff like this. Will I absolutely, start stitching things? I don't know. It also, just from a sort of curiosity, little intellectual curiosity perspective, in this one, and I have a few versions of this. When Nordic Needle in South Dakota, which was a store around for a long time, they used to do this yearly contest, and then they put together a booklet so people would create their hardhanger designs. And I'm just flipping through this, and I thought, so this filling right here looked so different than anything I had seen, and I was trying to go through. I don't mean this one. I mean this one. This one I can't tell you names of stitches, but I can recognize this. This one I was having a harder time trying to identify. And I pulled out all my hardhanger books and I'm looking, and it's like an interest. I want to explore that a little bit more. Does that mean I'll ever stitch it? Probably not, but just I like the fun exploration of stuff like that. And then this book, I looked at it and I was like, all right, maybe 50-50 chance that I already own it because I definitely have seen it before, or certainly the cover. And I was very pleased to come home and discover I didn't own it. So fun find there. So overall, I had a great time. It was just all the pieces kind of worked really well for me to be there. I also, I've talked about this before, at every stitching event, so I'm mostly saying retreats, but I'm also thinking about like Nashville and stuff like that. I always like to have a souvenir pair of scissors and scissor fob. And sometimes they're things that I'm purchasing, sometimes they're things I'm creating. Like some of my scissor fobs are just from orts, that long enough orts to create. Some of them are being gifted. And so I had purchased this pair of scissors on purpose at Keepsakes, which is the store that puts on StitchCon, knowing, okay, this is going to be my souvenir. And I have ended up with a total of 4 stitch fobs. They were all gifts. So StitchCon itself always does a little make it, take it. So this guy right here, they give you all the little parts and you can put it together, and that's one of the things they certainly did did they do in 2018? They definitely did it in 2019. But this one here that says rip it with a little spool at the end, this one here that says Stitcher, this little guy here with 2025 and a scissor. I don't know if you could see any of these things. Anyway, as sort of messy looking as it is, I'm keeping all 4 of them in one place. So these are my official StitchCon souvenir scissors. Now, what did I stitch on? I was not expecting to, I basically brought 2 projects and I planned this out ahead of time. If you haven't been here before, you will know that in general, I'm a 1 project at a time stitcher. Now, last few years, more like 2 projects at a time. When I first discovered Flosstube in 2017, I had no idea that people had multiple projects going on at the same time. Like, that was just brand new information to me. I feel like I want to focus on one thing at a time. And there's some exceptions to that over the years. And certainly now as a designer, there's an element of, I have what I call my downstairs stitching. I'm up in my loft right now, which is the stitching I'll do in front of the television most only in the evenings. And then I often have a project going on up here that is more like my daytime when I have little bits of time. I do a lot of, I work with students mostly on Zoom as in my other life, I'm a middle school math teacher, but sometimes I have these odd snippets of like a half hour between students or something, and it's the perfect thing to have on the go. I had planned out once I started thinking about it in mid-May or something. I needed to have projects, at least one good project, that would be good for a retreat. Like, shall we say no-brainer stitching or minimal brainer stitching. And so I actually had planned out, I had 2 of them started, which was like a weird feeling for me. And then as I kept going, as I was stitching, of these 2 projects, I knew one of them would be a new release that I'll do in August for the online needlework marketplace, and I knew the other is something I would save for Nashville for next year. And I was at the point, I was working on one of them, like, you know what, let me focus my time on the one that I want to have out by August. And I wasn't planning it, but by Sunday morning I realized, if I stay concentrated here, I'll have it finished. So I finished it. So I am sharing with you a little preview. I'm playing around with names, have not come up with a name yet. It is all cross stitch. It is a very geometric thing. Many of my designs are geometric. I'm getting sort of weird light, so I don't know if you can fully see what's going on here. This is stitched with Threadworks thread. I love, if you look at the blue here in the center, the subtle variegation. So there are 2, there's a dark blue that's part of the outline, and then there's 2 blues in this ring, I'll call them rings, and then this next ring. And then I did do this on purpose, a very variegated thread that is clearly blue and green, and that is in this next ring that then connects to the final 2 rings, which were 2 shades of green. Um, and it's like, it looks like a muddy mess when I look at it on the camera. Um, but it looks much better. And each ring is a different like filling stitch. Again, it's all cross stitches. But, you know, here it's where it's just vertical and horizontal, and here's these little boxes and so on. And I like it. I like how it came out. So this is what I was working on a good part of the time at StitchCon, and I will save the other one for another time to share. What else have I been stitching on? So fabric. This is a witched fabric called Country French linen. And I don't know how else to say it. It's just a softer linen than I have found their other linens to be. Their regular linens don't work for me. They work for other people, all good. But when I discovered this, and it only comes like in 4 colors, and I think it only comes in 28 count and 32 count. And it's like, you're not going to see it very well on camera. It's like not quite a solid. That makes any sense? I mean, I'm not claiming it's like hand dyed or anything. I don't know how else to describe it, especially since you can't see what I'm getting at, I don't think, through the camera. Oh well. So one of the pause, as I'm seeing something on my site that I meant to talk about when I was sharing sweet things that were given at StitchCon. One of the sweetest, I thought, one of the great ideas. I would love to copy this idea. I don't know if I have the time to do it. I mentioned my friends Abby and Vanessa. They are sisters. Vanessa, this is so sweet. She had a whole little bowl full of these beaded flowers that she made. Beaded, like, you know, these are mostly seed beads with, it was so sweet. And she had found these jars at, I think she said at a thrift store for like 12 for $1 or something. And we could all pick out whatever flowers we want and create our own bouquet. And I love this. What a unique and different, but just to me, an awesome little gift to give for us at the table. And then as people were coming around, when they were giving little gifts or something, she was often saying, take a flower. So I just thought this was very cool. And I have it sitting downstairs on my coffee table, but I brought it up, so I'm so glad I shared that. Okay, back to stitching. So the project I had been working on in early May, that I said, you know what, as much as I want to finish this, I really need to pause because I need to get these at least 2 StitchCon projects going so that they would become mindless stitching once I was there. I have shared this before. If I waited a few more days to do this Flosstube, it would be a finish. But I just needed to get the video done, so we're awfully close. This, and I'm holding it the way I usually keep it oriented, is a new version. Oh, hold on. Oh, it's still in the bag. All right. I could have prepped a little bit more for this. So, this is a design I came out with at Nashville called 365. There are 365 different circles. They're all different. 365 different colors of DMC. I loved it. I loved the people who loved it. If you are not familiar, the year before I came out with a design called 324, which lots of people loved. And I had started working on a second version of that. And originally it was just for me. Because it wasn't cross stitch. And then there was so much interest as I was posting about it. I ended up putting out the pattern for it. When I came out with this one at Nashville, I was thinking, so am I going to do a second version of this? And I was like, I don't know. I don't know if there'd be that much interest for a lot of, I know my audience are cross-stitchers. That doesn't mean they're, how do I say this? I know some of the people that purchase from me do more than cross-stitch. But I was like, I don't know. Would people be interested in another one? And then when I came back from Nashville, it's like, I'm interested in doing another one. And if it sells, great, but I want to do it. So I am so close to finishing this. I think last night I was counting, I think I have about 18 squares left. Most nights I get about 8 squares done, so literally just a few days from now. You can see it's the same circle shape, but instead of the 365 different circles, they're all squares. And they are all, well, there's a whole bunch of different, there, when all is said and done, there will be 92 stitches in here, different types of stitches, each of them used 4 times. So like in a rotational kind of way, if we take one that kind of stands out, like this guy right there, you could see it here, you could see it here, over here, and over, nope, I'm not even pointing to the right ones. Anyway, there are 4 of them. So I am really close. And if you follow me on Instagram, Works by ABC, you'll probably see a finished post on this pretty soon. I will put together a pattern if they're interested in people wanting to do it themselves. If they've done the second version of 324, which I called the sequel. I can't call this a sequel, it would get too confusing. Maybe some people would be interested, or maybe you just want to do this. Anyway, it will be an option, probably not until the fall. Talk a little bit more about my summer in a minute. Also, let me just say, I think I have 4 of these left. I put together thread packs of 365 different colors of DMC. These came out this spring with the 365 design. There's about a yard of DMC for each of these 365 colors, which is more than enough to not only stitch 365, but to stitch my original 324 and probably to stitch both the sequel and this one as well, because you're not using that much, I mean, unless you're stitching like on 7 count or something, you're not going to use that much thread. A number of people, even at StitchCon, there were 2 people that came up to me and said, "Oh, I purchased your thread pack. That is so convenient." Even like I own all the DMCs, but to have them all ready to go for me. So anyway, I think there's 4 of these left. They're listed in my Etsy store. I'll put a link below if you are interested in helping me move one box out of my home right now, because I got a lot of boxes downstairs. Next up, another stitching thing that I've been working on, although the stitching is finished, I need to now FFO it. So coming up literally a week and a half from now is a retreat that I run called Stitch NJ. I'm in New Jersey, I don't know if that came out already. This will be my 6th retreat that I have run. Like I said, my first one in 2018 was before StitchCon, the month or so before. And then it's sort of like you're a teacher and you did a retreat in May. That was not good timing. So it's been in July ever since. I always say this is my 6th retreat, but I kind of planned 8 because I canceled in both 2020 and 2021. I have a lot of things going on downstairs. It's a big mess as I have all kinds of stuff getting ready to go. I know the pieces that I think are important in my retreat. One of them is making sure I give out a good bag of stuff, and stuff that may be a little special, a little unique, a little different. I hope enough people enjoy or use those things. So I'm hoping my retreat has a reputation for a good goodie bag. So that's what most of the mess is downstairs, but other things as well that I'm working on putting together. One of those piles is things for the raffle table. So just like StitchCon has its fundraiser, I have done a fundraiser for all the, well, I guess not 2018, but it's since 2019, and raise money for a local no-kill animal shelter that is truly appreciative of this little influx of money that they get every summer. Summer's a hard time for them. And so one of the piles I have downstairs are donations. I put in a lot of effort to reach out to thread and fabric companies and get donations for this, as well as some other like stitch-related people that create things. A number of attendees bring things, which is amazing. You know, I know some people belong to like a, club of the month or something, and they get this full kit and they know they're never going to stitch it. So some of those kinds of things come in. Some handmade things like knitted shawl, quilt. There is one attendee who itchy nose today, the last few years has donated a quilt, which is amazing. One thing that I've done the last few years is, I'm not meant to wear one. many times in my videos, you see me wearing a necklace, and it's something that I've stitched. And it is stitched over one on 56 count, full crosses. And I've turned them into pendants, into necklaces. So I have stitched up the necklaces that are going to be on the raffle table from me. And again, this is on 56 count, over one. Talk about threads in a moment. So these two are on a white fabric, and again, the light is weird. This is black thread, and this is like a blue, not like, it is a blue variegated thread. And then the third one I have is on the, whatever you call it, khaki color, and that's with a green thread. And I'm sorry that the lights is just not showing this. So all the years I've done this, I have stitched with this. It's a spool. It's called YLI. That's the name of the brand. 100. It's a silk. It's a it's a finer thread than like a typical sewing thread. I became aware of it because of my interest in bobbin lace, which I haven't done much of in the last few years, but I love bobbin lace, and I've known about threads that don't necessarily get known about in like a cross stitch world. And when I had first discovered this concept of 56 count, could you even stitch it over one? I knew you would need a very, very fine thread. And so this is the thread. And I have a few different colors that I have used. This past year at Nashville, I had a very lovely conversation with the folks at Gloriana Thread, and we were talking about their Tudor silk. And I've seen this before. I feel like I might have had an opportunity to purchase one at some point. But so this is a very lovely variegated blue. And because I was talking about how the Tudor silk matches up to this in terms of fineness. And from stitching on it, here's what I can report. Yes, I could stitch full crosses with it. I don't know if you can tell just having both of these on the same piece of fabric. And obviously they're different designs. The YLI silk is definitely finer. This gets the Tudor silk is a little chunky from my perspective for 56 count. I do not at this moment own any 46. Is that what it's 46? Whatever the 40 is. I think it's 46. I want to get a piece of that because I want to see if 46 count over one Tudor silk, how that would look. I think it would look pretty cool. And maybe I can make some necklaces or some other things. And one of the big reasons about it is that the variety of colors and the fact that you can get a little bit of variegation, which of course is not showing up very well, in just the most subtle kind of way. There are some variegated threads, which I've put away at this point. Last year I tried stitching with one of them, these little designs, and it's just, because I guess it's the way it's manufactured, it's just too regular of a repeat, and it's also too long of a repeat for such a small design. Anyway, the whole idea of variegated thread did not work for this using YLI, but I'm hoping to explore more with these because if I can make these, and here's the green one, which is not as obviously variegated, but this is not huge, but I think even on camera you can see the variegation, and it just played out really nicely even on a small design. So I have the pendants that I'm going to use. I think I have chains for two of them. I think I need to go get a chain for the third one. So that has been one of the, that was my upstairs project for a week or two there, a couple of weeks to get those done. I just need to get them FFO'd. Some other things. So like I said, my retreat is coming up. I'm excited. When you do something for enough years, it's not that I have copycat every single year, carbon copy every year, but there's a comfort in knowing, okay, about a week and a half before retreat, make sure you do this. About a week before, make sure I do this. And I keep good notes, and hopefully, knock on wood, things will continue going, and I hope it's a great time. Now, often when I talk about my retreat on a Flosstube or even mention it in an Instagram post, I will inevitably get the question of, oh, how do I hear about this? How do people hear about retreats? I can't speak about all retreats in general, but last year came up with a great system that is putting, again, write a note to myself, this worked really well. I'm going to put a link down below to a form to fill out if you are interested in learning about Stitch NJ 2026 when I have information available. This is not a wait list. This is not signing up for a retreat. All it is a way to stop people from inundating me with questions during the retreat. So if I can just put it, and I'll put it this link in a few places, including on a Facebook page and on my Instagram. And so that way, if you want to know about it, happens, I have no dates yet. It'll be in July. Next summer, it will be in Woodbridge, New Jersey, Central New Jersey. But this way you can get information when I have it available. Name and email, it's all you'll be looking for. So that's my system there if you are looking for, I want to know more about that retreat. I want to circle back to something that I kind of purposely skipped over, was something I picked up from the Freebie table. I don't know if you are familiar with the magazine Piecework. It has been around 30 years. And I know that because there's a podcast, maybe 31. There's a podcast that I listened to not that long ago, and I'll see if I can link it, although I don't know how old it was, that was interviewing some of the original people and the editors of Piecework. It has evolved and changed over the years. The early issues were just amazing. They are... there's a lot of historical pieces, different cultural things. I mean, if you were to just look, so this is one of the earliest issues, November, December 94. I think they started like at the end of 93. I mean, this is one of the early ones. And, just to look, if I just sort of read the table of contents, Shisha embroidery, which comes from an area of India, Japanese chiriman bags from 19th century silk bags, molas, I think I'm pronouncing that right, from, no, it doesn't say it clearly here, Bulgarian stockings, sweetgrass basketry in the southern areas of the U.S., quill working. I mean, this particular issue was quite, and a number of the early ones. So I had learned about this many years ago and was just, yes, there are some projects related to the items, related to the articles. I, for many years, would go to a Barnes & Noble and sit and page through it. And if there were enough things, I might purchase the issue. There were a couple times that actually did get a subscription. There was a time in 2019 or so, I was at one of those craft, thrift stores for craft stuff, and I found a whole bunch, 10, 15 of the early ones. I'm like, oh my God, this is great. And I think more than once I maybe have purchased a few off of eBay, particularly the older ones. So when I found this, I'm like, oh, great reading. Of course I'm going to hold on to it. And of course, over the last few days, I've been confirming what issues I own. I've been poking around on eBay. I don't need to purchase any more of them. I could go back and revisit. The articles in here are just so interesting. What happened this is my impression, just saying, in the mid-teens or so, there became a much more focus, in my opinion, on knitting and crocheting. That there wasn't as much historically interesting variety to me. And I kind of lost interest in it. And then literally just a few months ago, I saw, probably on Instagram or Facebook, somebody had posted about the summer. It used to be 6 times a year, and a few years ago it moved to 4 times. So this is the summer issue. About the issue had a bunch with samplers. And I'm like, have they moved away from all their knitting stuff? And so when you look at the cover, all right, there's another knitting thing. But oh my gosh, how much non-knitting things are in here. It truly is a lot about embroidery and cross-stitch, but the historical parts of it. And I was like, wow, this is kind of cool that their focus has changed. I haven't even looked in a Barnes & Noble in a number of years for this issue. I did also, for this magazine, I did also discover that my library, through the Libby app, I can read the issues of them. So I'm glad I purchased this one, just because sometimes you just like having it. But it's also good to know, at least hopefully that will still be the case, that I can read some of them in the future. I also bring it up because there was twice that they used to have contests. And twice, once I was an honorable mention and once I won a first place in a category. And I just wanted to share this with you. I don't know if I've ever shared these, probably way, way back in my early Flosstubes. This was from 2012, and I just realized I forgot to pick it up. There was a pincushion contest. And what I liked about it is that there'd be different categories, like first place for knitting, first place for needlework, first place for beading, first place for lace making. It's kind of cool. So I got an honorable mention. This was a black work design. Now, this is not, Works by ABC put out a design a few years ago at this point called Blackwork Biscornu. That's not this, okay? But it was an honorable mention under the embroidery, they called it the embroidery category. And I meant to pull it out because I know what it's, well, you can picture what it is. And then 2 years later, they had a contest where the focus was words in needlework. And so, and for each of these, they have like I don't know, maybe they did it different this year. Or this contest they did differently. So like, here's the first place for knitting. Somebody who knitted those words in there. And first place for beading, first place for tatting, first place for crochet, and here I am, first place, they just called it needlework. And what I created, again, the theme was words in needlework, was this box, and on top, in what count would this have been? Maybe 32? I don't know. In some tiny words, The Praise of the Needle, which is a poem from 1630 that I have used. Again, this was 2014. A number of years later, I did a design that uses the entire poem. This is only the first, 8 or 10 lines. To all dispersed sorts of art and trade, I write the needle's praise that never fades. And it's the beginning of a poem the beginning of a book, like old pattern book. I don't know how to describe it. Anyway, and I had done this whole exploring of drawn thread work. So these are all different types of, or stitches of pulled thread. So it had won first place in the, they just called it needlework. They didn't call it embroidery. Anyway, I just thought I'd share that with you. I don't know if they did contests beyond the 2014 one. I don't know if they ever will do contests again. But since I was talking about the piecework that I pulled off the freebie table, I thought, why not mention that? Last couple of things. Also kind of related to my trip to definitely related to trip to StitchCon, but also brings in the fact, as is apparent from the stitching that I showed you, the new version of 365, is I love doing all types of needlework. And one thing that I did, part of my StitchCon trip, was Tamari. So Tamari, it's a Japanese craft, art, of thread balls. And you stitch picture a styrofoam ball that is covered with some batting and some yarn, and then a whole bunch of thread, like almost an entire spool of thread, and then designs all around it. I did a number of Tamari a number of years ago, and my friend Abby and Jen were at a retreat just a couple months ago out in California, where they are, or somewhere out there, and had taken a class, and that was their new love. And when she said, "Oh, we learned this new thing called Tamari at this retreat," I'm like, I know exactly what that is. So they were both going to bring Tamari projects to work on. I'm like, well, I'm going to do that too. So I took out my bag of stuff. I took out the books. I was trying to remember and relearn, and I can certainly criticize the details of this, like anything else. The more you practice, the better you get at it. And when I think I had 4 or 5 that I had done 10, 15 years ago. So the skills on those improved. But I'm glad to say that I have a Tamari ball that's part of my StitchCon experience. And then the other StitchCon related, oh sorry, cross stitch related thing that is a part to me of StitchCon that actually is, I've shared these kinds of things before, which is tatting. And given that I just mentioned it, I might as well bring this out. So tatting, this is a finished piece. Obviously, I haven't done anything with the thread ends. And tatting is made, well, there's two types of tatting. There's shuttle tatting and there's needle tatting. I am a self-taught tatter from many, many years ago, which is to say I probably do things wrong, but hey, I'm good with what I do. I'm good with how I'm doing it. Could I maybe watch some YouTube videos, learn some more skills? Sure. Is it something I spend a lot of my time focused on? No. But what it has become in the last couple of years, I mean, tatting, everything I need could fit in a little pouch like this, including glasses, new thread, scissors, like everything. So these are the shuttles that are used for tatting. There's all different kinds. These are the kinds. And here's a project that I was working on in the airport. Because it's become, like I said, it is the most portable craft. And that first one I showed you was one that I actually finished at Nashville, which means I probably showed it before. This is what the one I just showed you that I was working on at the airport will look like. This is what a pattern could look like. There's different ways to do the pattern. I didn't take it out at any point while I was at the retreat, but tatting has become a little part of my travel time, particularly when you're waiting around in an airport. So, I think that's the end of my list, and I mostly stuck to the order that I thought I was going to. And as always, this was a longer video than I thought it might be. Anyway, I thought it would be a good idea to kind of stop and check in here again right before, post StitchCon, before my retreat, which were exactly 4 weeks apart. I have lots of things ahead of me for the next week and a half. I hope there's a lot of excitement and enthusiasm for it. And I'll be back. My next Flosstube will be a recap of my Stitch NJ experience. So, especially if you're still here to the end, thank you so much. So appreciate you being here. Please do all the YouTubey things of like and subscribe. It just helps do that for every Flosstube video you watch. The like, comment, and subscribe things just help the algorithm so that more and more people can see more and more Stitchers out there, because we all have some wonderful things to share. So, wherever you are, whenever you're watching this, I hope you have a good weekend, day, evening, whatever. Till next time. Bye.